Look at two cities on the same planet. In Little Rock, the obesity rate sits over 40%. In Tokyo, it hovers just over 4%, a tenfold difference. Yet over recent decades, these exact same species have experienced completely divergent physiological outcomes. Our culture has a very specific explanation for this. We are taught that maintaining a healthy weight is strictly a matter of personal discipline. It's pitched as an endless, solitary battle of willpower. But that math simply doesn't add up. If health relies entirely on individual motivation, it is statistically impossible for an entire city of 37 million people to collectively succeed at having perfect self-control, while another city completely fails. The cause of this massive health gap isn't happening in the minds of the citizens. It is hard-coded into the invisible architecture of the cities themselves. The first environmental pillar is the built environment. When you drop into Little Rock, the urban layout makes owning a car mandatory for basic survival. Everything is spread out across massive highway systems. The infrastructure actively discourages walking. Entire blocks lack sidewalks, and even the local shopping malls are designed almost exclusively with escalators instead of stairs. Tokyo took a completely different path. After the Second World War, they heavily prioritized rail transit over roads. This engineered walking into the default mode of transportation for millions of people, and the impact on their daily physical activity is staggering. This chart shows the daily baseline caloric burn of a car-based commuter next to a public transit commuter. Because of that rail system, Tokyo residents average roughly 6,500 to 7,200 steps every single day, strictly through incidental commuting. They hit these numbers without ever stepping foot in a gym. The people here aren't waking up and actively choosing to do a workout. Their urban design makes physical stagnation nearly impossible. The second pillar is the convenience ecosystem. Human biology is incredibly predictable. When we get hungry, we default to the path of least resistance. In Little Rock, the absolute easiest option is an endless strip of drive-thrus. Accessing these requires zero physical effort. And the defaults here are incredibly dense. A standard morning meal quickly pushes past 1,000 calories, often paired with literal gallons of liquid sugar, like sweet tea. But if you walk into a Japanese convenience store like 7-Eleven, the easiest, quickest options are pre-portioned lean proteins, seaweed, and fresh salads. Even the ubiquitous street vending machines offer warm protein shakes, unsweetened matcha, and complex vitamins instead of highly processed sodas. Convenience dictates consumption. When the absolute fastest, cheapest option around you happens to be nutrient-dense, the entire population absorbs those benefits by default. The final pillar is health literacy. Places like Arkansas have the lowest number of health educators per capita in America. Locals are left largely unaware of basic nutritional facts, a cycle that starts early with standard school lunches built on processed meat and chocolate milk. Japan has a deep-rooted cultural reverence for structured, collective health routines. Citizens are conditioned from a very young age to prioritize movement, with practices like morning radio exercises going back nearly 100 years. There is also a core cultural concept called hara hachibu. It's the practice of eating only until you are 80% full. This psychological framework naturally limits portion sizes. You can see it visually reinforced in a traditional teishoku meal, where the food is intentionally separated into multiple small dishes of whole, unfried ingredients to naturally slow you down. Health in Tokyo is a shared, culturally enforced standard. Navigating nutrition in Little Rock is an isolated, unguided struggle against the environment. Living a healthy lifestyle in Little Rock requires extreme discipline. You have to constantly fight back against an environment that actively pushes you towards sedentary habits and high-calorie defaults. Conversely, being unhealthy in Tokyo is actually quite difficult. The environment passively curates a better diet and forces daily physical movement upon you. The lesson here isn't that the rest of the world needs to abandon their local cuisine for seaweed and chopsticks. To reverse the global obesity epidemic, society has to stop relying on the failed strategy of demanding more individual willpower. True public health will only be achieved when urban planners and food systems engineers our environments from the ground up, ensuring that the healthy choice is, by default, the absolute easiest choice.